Good morning, Jess Schubert. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you, Lynn. How are you?
I'm really well. I'm so excited to have the phenomenal Jessica Schubert on Businesswomen Australia live chats today. This has been a spontaneous decision to just jump on live. We're also recording this, so anyone who doesn't get to see our whole session, feel free to go to our website, to our recordings, and you can watch it there or in our social media channels. Today, I'm talking to Jessica Schubert. Jess is Head of Leadership Development at Businesswomen Australia. She looks after a lot of our programs around leading with impact, looking after our relationship with universities and higher education, as well as guiding us in our own leadership development. She's also the founder and the director of Intact Teams and highly regarded as an executive and team coach, teaching organisations how to create cultures of excellence and high performance through the learning around leadership and those types of skills. But what we're going to talk about today is disc flow. But before we jump into that, Jess, I'm really keen to hear from you about what you see the biggest challenges that leaders have in teams and organisations right now.
Yeah, thanks, Lynn. And I think we can't, ignore the fact that the world has changed, leadership has changed, and challenges in organisations have changed. In the last 18 months, there's been a huge amount of pressure on leaders because the way we work has changed. And I think there's sort of, three parts to it. I think the speed of change that we're all exposed to has changed, and that's through globalization, dispersed teams, certainly the arrival of the future of work, digitalization, and AI. Every single organization I talk to and every leader I talk to says the demand on being able to foresee the future and change, foresee the future and lead change, is enormous, and we're not quite sure how to handle it. And the other part certainly is, at the moment especially, is dealing with uncertainty. We know that when we can't plan into the future and we can't predict the future, this leading change and leading our people becomes much more complicated. I will never forget the moment last year when we went into the first pandemic. Now, this is 18 months ago, and we're still talking about the same challenges, by the way. I reached out to a lot of my clients because I thought, if I'm worried about, the certainty of what's happening, and the workplace, and our families, my clients will as well. And I'm working with a client in the aviation industry who you can imagine, have been impacted like no other industry. And she said to me, the leader I was coaching and the team I was team coaching, she said to me, actually, the biggest worry is, dealing with the change that's coming, being able to equip our leaders so that they can stay resilient, have really good conversations, help each other, use empathy, because we still need high performance teams. But the change and the uncertainty is the biggest one. And she said, Jess, how can I get my team members, now that they're working so dispersed, stay motivated and engaged? And they are the sort of key challenges I see, and that leaders come to me: the level of engagement and motivation, which is hard for a leader to do. I don't think it's a leader's job to motivate their people, but certainly engagement. So we see a lack of engagement, and certainly a challenge that a lot of teams are now working in isolation. What is it?
16 It's a really tough time. It's such a tough time for leaders. And, it is obviously a tough time for the teams and the employees, for their families. So what needs to happen, and what do these leaders, what can they do to increase this engagement at all levels? What do they need to do as a leader?
Yeah. So there's a lot of school of thought on all the tactical stuff, like, we got to use virtual really well, and that's great. And there's a lot of training there. But I think we have to go deeper, and we have to go back to the fundamentals of leadership to increase engagement. And that's being able to connect really well to people and help, team members to connect well, have conversations and create effective relationships. So the fundamentals of leadership. When you look at, what we do and the way we behave. Humans are very different. And Lynn, you've done, the training with us in our leadership team at Business Women Australia, where, we use this to look at, what's our high preference to, behave and communicate. Are we fast and determined, or are we seeking a little bit more stability and get it right? Yeah. So there's people in terms of behavior styles, on all spectrums, of, this sort of, high preference. And we have to go back to those skills to engage. Yeah. It's not just about us anymore. It's about everyone else. And the more you understand how they prefer, to communicate, how they prefer, to behave, make decisions, collaborate, yeah. And the more we can lean into each other, the higher the engagement. People want to be heard. They want to be, they want to engage, but they don't necessarily have the tools. And we have to equip people on all levels with these foundational leadership skills.
Yeah, look, it's interesting that in our own leadership team, I found it fascinating and very useful, especially before our strategic planning process. So I really love that, Jess, and that's why I was very excited to be partnering with you in offering, this sort of understanding around the importance and the value of DISC, and also, obviously partnering in terms of offering accreditation. But we're going to talk a little bit more about that down the track. DISC is used by thousands of organisations around the world. I can remember coming across it years and years ago when we were running an IT company, and we were also doing some strategic planning, and we found it to be a fantastic tool for understanding each other and our differences and being able to work to our strengths. It's as a diagnostic tool, it's not just used in leadership development, but it's also used by a lot of coaches and by a lot of consultants. So tell me, what is DISC? For those who haven't heard of DISC, how is it used, and how does it help people?
Yeah. So DISC is a behavioral assessment tool, and that's important to know because it's not a personality test, but it guides you. The actual tool guides you through a self-assessment, and you assess yourself of your preference of how you behave and react and communicate. The beauty of that assessment tool is that it's been used and proven over 60 or 70 years on, scientific psychology. So it's a proven model. And how you use it is actually, it's not just the assessment, the report that comes out of the self-assessment gives you a benchmark, but also a narrative of what it actually means. So it's a bit of like, a self-discovery. Yeah. Most people, when I start working, with DISC, and they do the assessment, they see the report for the first time. And you remember this back in the day, right? Where you just have an insight in, here's why I do what I do naturally. Yeah. So when people are under pressure in particular, it's when they go back into sort of their behavioral style, we call it the natural behavior style, where they feel most comfortable in. Yeah, and that happens all the time. So through the self-assessment, it gives you really good insight in why you do what you do naturally, but it also helps you, so the DISC reports have been designed as a development tool, a start of a conversation for coaches and HR professionals and leadership development professionals to help someone or a group or a team, to understand why they do what they do, but also why other people do what they do. Because it's always like we're not in isolation, although we work from home, and that's where, we have to build that bridge. It's about understanding why other people do what they do. And it's not just, the position they're in and the situation they're in and, the power dynamics, all of that plays in as well. But if we understand their natural behavior style, it's much easier to influence them. So it's actually also classed as an influencing tool. And it's the world's most used assessment tool, and it's just wonderful because it's really made for the workplace. So businesses, I tell you what, you can use it on your partner as well. And I know you're just about to say something, so I don't know if you use it on your husband, Lynn. It does.
I was just going to say that. I was going to say I found it really interesting when we did it. How in a lot of ways we had similarities within our leadership team. And then so it's been very useful in terms of, well, how do we bring, sort of also more diversity into our leadership team, but also recognising the value that we've all got such strong visionary kind of holistic thinking, and that's really powerful because for me, it takes the pressure off. I'm the director, the national director, but I have all these amazing visionary people too. So I don't have to come up with all the visionary side of it. It's just going to be phenomenal. So disc flow, tell me about disc flow in particular. What does it bring to the table that's different than those original disc things that I would have been across, way back in the day? So tell me a little bit about the disc flow and how leaders and employees will benefit from this, sort of newer version of disc.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, I'm so glad that disc flow, has arrived. Like you, I did my first disc assessment in the 90s. And my style was slightly different back then because I was a salesperson and it looked very different. And I've used disc for years and years now. And disc flow is brand new because, yes, it includes emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence is your ability to recognize and manage your own emotions, and also have awareness of others. So as opposed to your IQ, EQ is your level of intelligence to recognize and manage your emotions. Because our emotions, as we know, neuroscientifically, impact our behavior. Yeah, emotions happen first, what we think, and it impacts behavior. And we know, emotional intelligence has been identified as one of the top skills for leaders to grow and become, high performance leaders and in high performance teams. It's always one of the top skills that I'm asked to teach in leadership. And the assessment with disc flow assesses your level, self-assesses your level of emotional intelligence, and gives you some narrative around, where you are and how that then relates to your disc style, and gives you really good canvas to, self-assess your strengths, your limitations, and, how emotional intelligence will be able to help you to put the right steps and plans into place to develop and grow. Because, that's the tool, the diagnostics purpose, really. Yeah. A tool is only as good as you make use of it. Yeah. You can buy a hammer and put it in the drawer. If you don't use it, it doesn't have any effect, right? But if you use it really well, and that's what we teach in our certification courses, is what are we going to do with a report? How does an individual and then a group, a team, or a pair, or a high performance team gets the most out of it? And how can it actually help change a culture? Because I know, Lynn, that the disc work we've done in our leadership team at BWA, that's really changed the culture and how we work together.
Yeah, look, I can't recommend it highly enough. And I'm really excited that we're actually, joining forces with you. You're a disc flow partner in Australia, and we're offering to our community the disc certification training. So why would someone even take that on? Why would they want to become a trainer? And then I'm actually starting to think about doing it myself, especially now after this conversation. So, but tell me, what are you seeing? What are you seeing is the driving motivation force for people to actually become certified and learning to train in this?
To train in this, yeah. The certification training as such is developed to be able to train someone to understand DISC at a very deep level, but also being able to debrief a report really well, and ultimately run workshops in teams or groups or large audiences. When we train, we always ask our participants, put your participant hat on, so it's all of this, self-discovery and actually using the tool really well, but then also the facilitator hat, where we train people on how to use the tool on different levels. I would say there are probably two sort of different kind of people who would become certified, and that's HR professionals, head of people, people managers, leadership development, everyone who works as part of either leading a team or in a more formal role in HR or leadership development. And being able to certify means that you're able to use the tool in-house and really add to the development and the change of your culture in your organization. Because when you're certified, we as DISC Flow, partners, we will equip you with not just the reports and the assessments. So there's an online portal to do this, do the admin side really, really well. Our mission really is to equip coaches and HR practitioners to use DISC so they get, the most out of the tool when it comes to actually developing and growing people. It's really good for your professional development. I know that a lot of practitioners, need development tools to keep their accreditations up. For coaches and consultants, it's certainly positioning with your clients. I hardly know any coaches who don't use a diagnostic tool, and it's really helpful not just for your clients, but it's the positioning that you have, when you sell your own services. So there's really two different groups who would be certified, but our mission and where we are different at DISC Flow is that ongoing support. I've used this for a long time and I've never seen and I've never received any additional support. Whereas we are planning on, facilitating, and that's all part of the certification, upskilling sessions. So DISC can be overlaid with other leadership models and other development tools within organizations or coaching practices and coaching programs.
Wow, look, it's so exciting, especially in with the fact that Business Women Australia is also now offering coaches certification in coaching. Here's another fantastic diagnostic tool that they can actually then also, when they've certified as a coach, they can then become a certified DISC Flow practitioner, add that to their toolbox so that they can help their clients become the best versions of themselves and achieve their highest, most lofty goals by that self-awareness. I'm loving my journey into greater self-awareness and the realizing that really the only place I have real control is on me and how I'm developing and growing as a person, as a good wife, as a great mother, as a leader. So it's certainly these types of certification courses are so powerful in our own leadership development too. So I think Jess, I think you're right. I think the heads of learning and development in the people culture, business partners in organizations, the HR managers, the coaches, the consultants, but also I would recommend leaders who are in the C-suite of an organization, board members, chairs. This is actually, we never get to a point where we're in these roles where our learning is over. There is always new learning and new tools and new scientific discoveries about how the brain works and this is a body of research that's keeping it. Just look at DISC. It used to be like this and now it has the emotional intelligence side of it. It's growing, learning, taking the evidence-based research that's being gathered through our university systems and through our research organizations in private practice, coming together and giving so much more to us as leaders to be able to empower our teams. So I'm super excited about this partnership, and I'm really interested if you can tell us very, very briefly about how this certification works. How long does it take? It's a massive commitment for busy people to take time out and really indulge in structured learning, and I totally recommend that people do it. But what is it? How does it work? When is the course? What's included? And what are we offering?
Yes. So first of all, our first and next intake is in September. It's the first 2 weeks in September. And we've made it really practical for people who work in a business or an organization. It's all online. Hopefully we can go back into in-house one day, but at the moment it's all online. And it's on 4 different days, lunchtime session, 2 hours. So it's 4 by 2 hours over a period of 2 weeks. So a Tuesday, a Thursday, a Tuesday, and a Thursday. They're very interactive sessions where there's knowledge and the transfer of knowledge as well as experiencing the tool, plus all the training of how to debrief and use different interactive training elements in your own training. And of course we use videos. There's a bit of pre-reading, but there's not a huge amount of, I would say that the 8 hours plus maybe 2 hours of sort of bit of reading and self-reflection and going through your own report. And then also included is a free debrief session, so you can debrief your own report or do a test debrief for someone else's report, is also included. That's just the course to go through. The actual certification, enables certified trainers to get access to an online portal. So you have access to your own reports. And the beauty with Disc Flow is there are different levels of reports, from a very basic portrait report to the core report that includes emotional intelligence, to leaders reports. So when you work with team leaders or department heads, then it's just a different narrative of a report. Again, that's designed for the best development tool that's there, but also group and team compare reports, as well as Connect, where you connect and compare two people who might be in a conflict, who might be working, on a project going forward. And we teach and train all of that. But as a certified trainer, you have access to all these reports and can just administer them as you need and want, plus all of the resources. Yeah, so PowerPoint templates, Word documents, instructions to run trainings, within 12 months, 6 upskilling and development sessions. So, you can use DISC in, other development areas as well. What else is included? Of course, a logo to put on your LinkedIn profile as well. Yeah, it's a positioning tool. So you get a certificate and, the exposure there as well, plus an amazing community. So yeah, September, check out, we've got all the information on BWA website, and I'm sure we'll put it all in the show notes, Lynn, but we have a phenomenal offer. So we offer the course at 50% discount because it's our launch event in September, and it's a phenomenal offer. So at half price if you sign up now.
Fantastic. So we've got a little ticker banner going along there. Head over to Business Women Australia's website, go through to our Disc Flow accreditation course page, click through there. There's so much information on there. If you're not sure, reach out to Jessica Schubert. She's head of leadership development at Business Women Australia, or to me. We would love to chat to you about our experiences with Disc Flow, what we're doing at Business Women Australia in terms of supporting the learning and development, the leadership development, coaching, mentoring, powering up in your career, powering up in your business. We would love to connect with you in any way and support you to achieve the highest goals and dreams that you have for you and your team. So thank you so much, Jess. This has been an amazing, amazing deep dive in. I am looking forward to it. If September doesn't work, we will be putting more dates up for future courses. I know I'm hoping to be on a road trip in September. I might be driving up and down the Rabbit Proof Fest if Mark McGowan won't let me out of the state, but we will see how we go. And if I will definitely be doing the accreditation probably early in 2022, but that's going to fit in well with my own pathway in terms of my leadership development. So I'm going to miss out on the first cohort with Business Women Australia coming through with you, Jess. But this is also available to non-Business Women Australia members. If you're a guy out there and you want to change your organisation and transform, you can come through our community in this, because we have the supporters of Business Women as well that come through. And if you want to bypass Business Women Australia, contact Jess and have a look at what's going on in Jess's space on Intact Teams. So however way you do it, we want to arm you all to actually take and embrace what it is to be a leader that is committed to lifelong learning, no matter what sector, what profession, what industry, what state you're in. So thank you so much, Jess. You have a beautiful week. I know you're over in Victoria, so it's a tough time. We're really feeling for you guys. We're feeling for all our friends around the nation who are in lockdown and around the world, who are suffering during these challenging times. But let's focus on the future. Let's do what we can. Let's make the most of improving ourselves and helping our teams, arming our teams to be able to thrive. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, and let's be ready. Let's be ready for it.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me, Lynn.
My pleasure.